Hello, what's up guys, Medium Guy here. Welcome to the next video in my video series about Caddy. So in this video we're going to learn about how to enable CORS policies to your Caddy server with caddyfile. So without any delay, let's get down to work. So let's first see what CORS is and why does it matter and why we even have to configure that. So as it is saying, cross-origin resource sharing, also known as CORS, is an HTTP header-based mechanism that allows a server to indicate any origin, by which we mean domain, scheme or port, other than its own, from which a browser should permit loading resources. So suppose your application is up and running on a given domain and some other applications from other domains want to interact with your application, like for example calling its APIs, loading its images and anything like that. So in this case you have to explicitly allow that origin to be able to load resources from your domain into its own website. So if you don't allow that external domain, when that domain tries to load resources from your domain, the browser won't allow that and the client will be receiving errors, CORS errors to be exact, when visiting their websites. So now that we have a basic knowledge about what CORS is, let's get down to configuring it in Caddy server. So if I move to the terminal right over here, if I hit ls, you can see that I've got some config files that I have prepared in order to demonstrate how we can configure the CORS policies in Caddy. So first thing, I'll try to nano the Docker compose file. Right over here you can see that I've got two services. One I've named backend, which as you can see is an echo server that will actually return whatever request with whatever parameters that it receives back to the client. So next, right over here, we've got the Caddy service itself. I'm trying to use the Caddy official image with a recent tag. So I've set the restored policy in order to tell the Docker engine to try to restore this service if by any reason it gets stopped. And next, right over here on the environment section, I'm trying to pass the time zone configuration in order to set the time zone as desired inside the container that will be created. So on the port section, I'm actually mapping both AT and 443 ports from my machine to exact same ports inside the container. So later I'll be trying to configure the Caddy server to listen to exactly the same ports. So as a result, I as the client will be able to make requests to the Caddy server that is running inside the container. And lastly, right over here, I've got the volume section that I'm mapping the ./caddy file to the /etc caddy file inside the container. So this is basically the file, the default file for the Caddy in order to try to configure itself when it is coming up and starting its service. And lastly, as you can see, I'm mapping the ./data and ./config to /data and /config inside the container that will be created, that will have the Caddy running inside that. So these are the directories that the Caddy inside the container will try to use in order to save its data and configurations. So I'll try to exit out of the Docker compose file and next try to nano the Caddy file itself. So as you can see, I've actually copy pasted some configurations that I found on GitHub. So actually I'll put the link next to these configuration files, and actually I'll put all these files in my GitHub repository, for which you can find the link down in the description section of this video. So these directives are actually trying to set the headers that are related to CORS policies that we might or might not need to change based on our use cases. So as you can see, we are setting the access control allow origin with the value of the argument that will be passed when we try to use this configuration. So shortly you'll see what exactly I mean by that. Next we have the access control allow methods, that we have set to get, post, put, and some other verbs. So these are the methods that we are actually trying to allow the CORS policies on. And right over here, we are actually responding with a 204 stats code. So basically the browser will then interpret this as a successful challenge with the server that is serving the resources. So it will actually give access to that external domain in order to load our resources. So if I move down, right over here, you can see that I am telling the Caddy to listen on 80 port, and inside this block, I am just doing a simple reverse proxy to the backend on port 80, which is exactly the same name that I gave to the echo server in the Docker Compose file. So because these two containers, I mean Caddy and the echo server, will be created by the same Docker Compose file, they will actually be able to see each other through their service names inside the Docker Compose file. So as a result, over here, we can just pass the name of the service for the echo server. And lastly, right over here, you can see that I am importing the CORS configuration that we defined right above, and I'm passing a fully qualified domain name of the actual domain that I'll be trying to load my website and resources from. So I'm going to exit out of the Caddy file, and by hitting docker compose up-d, I'll be having my both containers up and running. So right over here, if I say docker compose ps, I'll see that both my containers are in up status with the exact same ports that I mapped to inside those containers. So if I hit docker compose logs -f to follow the logs and --tail 100 in order to grab the latest 100 lines of the output of these two containers. So as I can see, things are looking correct, and right now I'll be able to move to the browser and make requests using the same domain name that I defined in the Caddy file to this Caddy server. So you can see that by visiting the exact same domain name, I am able to actually get response from the Caddy server, and as you can see, the echo server that is proxied behind the Caddy is successfully responding to my requests. But right over here, I've got another domain that is resolved to the exact same IP address of the server that the Caddy is running on. So you can see that I'm actually able to also make my request and receive the response from the echo server behind the Caddy server. But the point is that if I want to make an API call from this exact domain to the actual domain that I load the CORS policies, actually I want to be able to load the desired resources. So by using the fetch function and making a request to the http/pc, I'll hit enter, and you can see that I'm actually getting CORS error when I want to make an API call from this domain to the PC domain. But right over here on the tab that I have loaded with the exact same domain name, if I use the fetch function again to make a call to the Caddy server, I'll hit enter, and you can see that I get 200, which is okay as the stats code for my request. So using the exact same steps, we can allow the CORS policies on multiple domains. Like for example, if I go back to the Caddy file and move down over here on the CORS configuration, I'll try to actually add the second domain that I desire to give the CORS policies access. So I'll provide the exact same name, and I'll try to save the Caddy file and exit out of the nano, and by saying docker compose down and docker compose up-d, my container that holds the Caddy will be destroyed, and another container with the new Caddy file will be created. So as a result, my Caddy configuration will be updated. So right now, if I move back to the browser on this domain, I'll be able to actually make requests to the other domain that I'll get 200 as the stats code, and also on the other domain, I'll be able to actually make requests and receive the desired resources also with 200 stats code. So that's all for this video. I hope you learned something new in this one. If you haven't watched the previous videos, I recommend giving a visit where you can learn things like the basic installation of Caddy in Docker environment, the basic concepts or configurations like bot detections and IP restrictions and cool stuff like that. So if you have any recommendations or any questions, you can of course ask me in the comment section down below. And if you found the video useful, don't forget to hit the like and subscribe and help grow the channel and motivate me to create more free contents like this. So with that, that's all for this video, and I hope to see you in the next videos.